All right, good morning. Hope everybody is doing well. I'm just going to do a quick refresher on the screen to make sure the video is showing up correctly. There we go. And pulling up the chat. This is Paint with Lovejoy, and we're doing daily painting demos, and today's painting is going to be a Peacock Butterfly. And all right, so a little bit of what you're looking at right now. We've got our colors for today, and we've got quite a variety. And I'm working on an 8x10 panel. Some of you may be on a stretched canvas that's going to have a little bit more width on the side. Doesn't really matter which one you paint on. And we have what we call our line drawing already on our canvas. So you've got two options on how to get this on your canvas at home. You can pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion. Or there is a link in the description box below to what I call a traceable. And you'll click on that link, purchase it, download your traceable, you print it out, and then with carbon paper, you can transfer it to your canvas. And the traceable is a nice way for first-time and beginner painters to get their initial image on their canvas and not have to stress about trying to draw, and they can jump right into painting. So just a quick note, if you do the traceable option, it's not going to show up this dark. I actually went back over with a Sharpie marker, so that way those of you that want to draw it at home, it shows up easier. So when you transfer with the traceable, it'll be a little closer to kind of those lines, which makes for covering with your paint a lot easier. So in some of these demos, you'll see that I put quite a bit of paint to cover the black lines. So whichever option that you are going for to get your composition on your canvas, go for it. And what we're going to do today, we are going to use the knife for the background. We're going to scrape the green and the yellow on there, just because I like the effect. And then for our Peacock Butterfly, we've got this really pretty, almost like burnt orange, reddish color, and then almost like the little eye feathers on the peacock here. And then we'll move in with black at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the chat and I will address it as I am painting. And just a quick shout out, we've got a couple people jumping on. We've got Lacey and Photography Queen and Denise and Beverly. Thank you guys so much for jumping on and hanging out this morning. Well, morning for me. And hi, Chloe. Seeing others that jump on. All right, so as we jump into painting, like I said, I'm going to use a palette knife here, and I'm going to do more of my style scraping method. If you do not want to use a knife, you can do your background with a brush. And if you want to do the palette knife method, but you don't have a palette knife, you can use an old gift card or an old credit card or something that's just basically kind of a stiff plastic, because we're going to be doing a scraping effect like that. So like I said, this is more my style knife scraping. So I like to kind of put a finger right here. It's a little bit more support. And because I'm on a smaller canvas, I am using a smaller knife. The knives actually come in a variety of shapes. So try a few different ones and see what works. But like I said, if you don't have a knife, an old credit card or gift card works really well. And I'm just kind of scraping it on here. I'm not applying the paint super thick. And again, moving my knife in various directions because I really like that texture that shows up. And it's nice just to use the knife, kind of an untraditional tool, an untraditional method of this scraping. And the scraping aspect, highly therapeutic. So any of your anxiety, frustrations, anything from the last couple of months, or even just last week or this morning, scrape it away. Scrape away your feelings, your emotions. You will feel better with this method. And if you happen to get your color on the inside of your butterfly, don't freak out. Our colors will paint right on top of it. Acrylic paint dries nicely and you can layer colors. And as you're working with the knife, if you need to turn your canvas sideways, upside down to make it a little bit easier, feel free to do that. I will keep my canvas in the same orientation just because I'm filming the video. All right, looks like I got a few more people jumping on. Hi, Mike and Ivana. I think I said that right. Yeah, V, and then Chloe and Rhonda. All right. Awesome. Really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day and hanging out with me on the live videos. I think I saw in one of my emails this morning, somebody was apologizing for not being able to keep up with the live demos. So just wanted to state clearly that you guys do not have to keep with the pace that I'm doing. I am trying to keep these at a 30 to 50-minute demo just because it's keeping me sane by doing this the last couple of months. So that's why I encourage that you pause the video as needed and even, catch this on the replay. So don't feel like you have to paint as fast as me. It's actually to your benefit to paint a little bit slower and enjoy the process a little bit more. The other reason for painting and trying to keep it under an hour is also technical. So my phone doesn't freak out and the internet doesn't go crazy like we have had other technical issues in the past. So basically I just more than that you paint. I don't care how long it takes you. Whoops. So we're gonna grab another knife. All right, so just grab another knife. I just dropped the other one on the floor. So I'm gonna grab the yellow and it is gonna mix a little bit. We're gonna scrape right on top of the background. So kind of play with that. Wet on wet blending, we're just using a knife, where normally we're using a brush to do this. So if you actually let this dry, when you scrape the yellow on there after the green is dry, the yellow will actually stay more yellow compared to right now where it's mixing and kind of changing to a medium kind of springish green color. All right, and let's grab a little more yellow. So to get it a little closer to that, towards a more opaque, the yellow, I'm literally just going to kind of place it on here and lightly move my brush a little bit, or my knife a little bit. And this is something that's just really fun and it gets more comfortable with more practice. So do whatever you want to your background now, then we'll be moving into the wings on our Peacock Butterfly. All right, and let's see. Oh, it looks like we got a question. Oh, cool. V, you're going to be doing finger painting, looks like, for your children's class. Oh, that's going to be fun. Yeah, you definitely have them wash their hands. And I think when I taught one of my first finger painting classes, I found it highly entertaining. I had a couple ladies that signed up for class, came in, and they literally had gotten a manicure the day before. So they kept running to the bathroom and washing their hands. And it's like, I had to actually put that on the announcement or the registration for the next couple of classes. Like, please don't get a pedicure or a manicure right before you come to class, to a finger painting class. But I hope you have fun with that. They are going to have so much fun. It is very therapeutic to paint with your fingers. Okay, so let's see. Let's actually start with our light blue. I'm going to start with a pointy brush. We've got a little bit of light blue and shades of blue kind of hanging out in kind of the eye spots on our butterfly today. And then we've got that nice bright reddish orange, and then we'll be using more of our shades of brown for the body, and then final up with black. So to make kind of a light blue, I'm going to take some of my white, put it aside. A tiny amount of blue goes a long way to mix to make your light color. So I like to kind of push that on the side, leave what's on my brush, start mixing with it, and then I can decide, do I like that? Do I want to add a little bit more and go a little darker? Totally your call, and you can adjust your shade of your light blue to your liking. All right. Okay, so let's see, and I see another question pop up. I'll look at that in just a moment. So as we paint this at home, or as you paint this at home, all I want you to do is observe the placement that you see me put each of these colors, and then mimic that to the best of your ability at home. It does not have to be exactly like mine. And if your instincts are encouraging you to do something a little bit different, maybe change colors, maybe put something where I don't put it, trust that. Go right ahead and embrace that. Your instincts are guiding you in the direction you need to go for your creative outlets. All right, let's see. Oh, what about knife painting? If you do that, please send me pictures and then send me pictures of what you're underneath, but that could lead to some cool effects. So give it a try. I think that'd be fun. All right, so now we're gonna go a little bit darker blue. So I'm just gonna add more blue to that mixture that I was blending, just getting a different blue shade in there. All right, and then wipe that brush or clean that brush off really good. All right, and I do keep checking to make sure that it's still filming. I think that's going to be my constant paranoia for each demo, that it cuts out halfway through. Thank goodness for the times that it hasn't been a major detriment to where I painted for and filled in a lot of space before I caught it. Okay, so I'm debating, yeah, let's start with kind of our red orange, and then we've got a few places where yellow will go, so we'll let that dry a little bit. So I always like to start with the orange first, the lighter of the two colors. So pull some of that orange out, and you get to be the call on how intense red you want. I saw quite a few pictures when I was researching the images for this. Some lean a little closer to the orange side, some lean almost pretty close to that pure red side. Totally your call where you want to meet somewhere in the middle for your peacock butterfly. And let's see, it actually looks pretty good. So my mixture was probably 3 parts orange, 1 part red. And I'm liking that color. All right, so we're gonna fill in a good portion of the wings, and then we'll put some other stuff on top. And I am using student grade paint. So instead of kind of really pushing a lot with my brush, I'm actually gonna try to grab a good amount of paint and kind of come at this 45-degree angle, because you can see where it's a little bit thicker and more opaque here compared to really overworking it and spreading out the paint, and then I can see, you know, a lot of the canvas and lightness coming through. So if you're working with student grade paint today, or your paint is on the thin side or it dries super fast, try this application. Again, to where you're just applying it a little bit thicker, holding that brush at that 45-degree angle and almost just using the edge of the brush instead of the bristles to apply and manipulate your paint. If you're working with already thick paint, have fun with it, and you don't have to apply it nearly as thick unless you want to. All right, so I'm gonna make more of this, and if you have to make your color a second, third, and fourth time, don't stress on getting an exact same shade. Your brain's taking in a lot of information each time you mix your paint colors. And the more that you do it, the more your brain's just like, okay, I know what it's taking. And then before you know it, you'll go, oh, I need that kind of medium light blue. And you'll mix it without even thinking, and you'll get it right on the first try. So basically, be kind to yourself no matter what you're doing in life, but especially with artwork. If you're holding your breath right now, big inhale, laugh a little bit, relax. This is just painting. It's never going to be the end of the world with paint. But it is hopefully an escape into a new awesome world for you. A place where the rest of the world ceases to exist for a short amount of time. All right, and again, if your spaces are a little bit larger or a different shape or size than what I'm working on, totally okay. All right, and use more red for that. All right, so now I'm actually going to wipe off that excess paint. We're going to grab some red and do some wet on wet blending, just to kind of give it a bit more definition. So again, red, some of our darker colors are pretty powerful when we do the blending, so a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just going to kind of place this in a few areas, and then I'm going to wipe my brush off, and then I'm going to go back and blend. And I'll give you 2 different options on how you can do some of your blending. So again, just kind of observe where I'm placing these little red dots and mimic that to the best of your ability on your canvas. So I'm actually going to clean the brush off, And then you've got two options for how you can do your blending, and each one of you may have a slightly different method and something that you find comfortable. So one method is a bit closer to the wet on wet blending, to where we just kind of push and smear, and basically it's just like mixing our colors on our plate, but we're mixing that red into the orange, basically mixing the new color into the base color. Another method that people have been liking is what we call the stabbing method, and it's literally just kind of picking up the orange, picking up the red, smushing them together, still doing the blending, but just a kind of a different effect. A lot of times I do recommend that you just kind of do it with the brush perpendicular, but if you do the perpendicular one, that will ruin the end of your bristles a little bit faster. So I have the tendency to beat up my tools quite a bit. But if you end up if you're the type that takes care of your tools, you may not want to do that stabbing method as much. So some of my red got diffused kind of quickly, so I'm actually just grabbing more red to apply. And if that happens on yours, where you're looking and you go, oh, I really wanted that more red, just reapply and repeat the process. And again, if you want to change it up, different colors, add whatever you want here. Let's see, we've got a little bit of red hanging out here. A little bit on this one. Doesn't look like we have any down here. All right. And then we're going to move into kind of our raw sienna and burnt sienna mixture. And these are our shades of brown. So we've got our light brown, our raw sienna, and then our burnt sienna has a hint, a warmth, a hint of red to it, to where this is a bit cooler. So I actually really like this color. We just need to warm it up a little bit. So I'm going to pull some of this raw sienna aside and add a touch of burnt sienna. And we're probably doing about a two parts raw, going a little bit darker than what that raw sienna is on its own. All right, and we are going to kind of our little butterfly here, and same thing. I'm going to try to apply this a little bit thicker. So adjust what you need based on your tools and variables that you're dealing with. And then we're going to fill in the bottom part of these wings right here. And this is okay if you overlap a little bit on the orange. Your orange might already be dry. A few of my places the orange is already dry. If it's not and it's still a little bit wet, you can do a little bit of that blending. So it just depends on where you're at for your painting. And let's see, we've got some up here. And then here again, just trying to apply a little bit thicker to compensate for that green that's underneath. And if that's happening on yours to where it's just no matter what you do, it seems like you can't get enough coverage or enough opaque coverage, let your paint dry and then just reapply that color after it dries. And you might have to do that 3 times or even 4. So again, don't be afraid to adjust for what you need for your painting process and your variables. We are going to outline these wings with black. That's going to make it kind of pop a little bit more from the background. All right, we're going to move into some raw sienna next, and we're going to be doing some blending right on top of the body of the butterfly. This guy's taking shape nicely. So I'm actually just cleaning off the excess paint on my brush, and by doing that, it kind of brings my bristles back together. And then I'm just going to grab this on its own, and let's see right kind of where the bodies meet, kind of on the perimeter. And again, this is pretty wet and transparent, so just kind of using the side of my brush, short, choppy little brush strokes. A little bit at the, I think this is the thorax. Trying to remember my 8th grade science. All right, and then we do have some of it coming on here on the wing. I have to again apply this a little bit thicker. That's okay, and we're going on the other side little body on the wing. And some of my red and orange are wet, so this is blending in with it. So if that's happening on yours, just kind of play with it. I'm bringing this burnt sienna all the way up, kind of underneath that front wing, and kind of blending this a little bit into the raw sienna mixture that we laid on first. And a little bit more here. Okay, so next, a little bit darker. So pulling a little burnt sienna aside, and this one, a little bit of black goes a long way in this mixture. So putting some on the side, leaving what's on my brush. There we go, and going full on black yet. And again, just kind of going back to, that's actually pretty wet, the little butt of the butterfly. I'm just going to fill that in. Let's go up to the head. All right, I think we're almost ready for our black. All right. So just kind of pulling this kind of on the edge, and let's do the same thing on this side. And it will be pretty cool. We're going to do the black next, and we'll get rid of the rest of the white canvas space, but it's cool how that black's going to pop, and then we'll do a few little spots of highlights on there with the white. So two high contrasting colors really kind of finalize the painting. So a lot of times paintings come together in the last 10%, which makes it very annoying if you're struggling with the painting. But just know some of those last couple of colors really fine tune it and make it pop. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. Oh, one more thing we need to add before we move into the black. And then we'll do the yellow after we do the black, just because this is still pretty wet and it's not holding the color on top. All right, so we're going for a bit of a creamy color. So I'm pulling just a little bit of this white aside. I'm going to add a touch of the raw sienna. There we go, going for kind of a beigey, cool color. And we're going to kind of surround this little decoration. Whoops. And if you get some of your other color in there, just because it is a lighter color, just wipe it off. And you can take a paper towel and wipe it on the canvas and then reapply the appropriate color. All right, and we're almost at what we call the underpainting. There's no canvas space left. I feel like that is where painting has begun, and then we start putting layers on top of it. Okay. Actually, while we have this color, let's do little highlights on the body. So I'm going to do a couple of little bands. And again, my paint's still pretty wet, so it's changing colors rather quickly, but it's at least kind of toning down the color and giving us our third value, a little bit of a highlight. So for the front part of the body, just kind of put it in the center, and then for the bottom, that little butt, just kind of did these little arcs. Okay, I think we are ready for black now. Let's see if there's any other questions. No, nice, and it looks good on the screen. Cool, yeah, that light, these light little colors right here really just breaks that dark space nicely. Okay, so now we're going to move into black paint. We're going to be basically painting over a few areas. We are going to do an outline on the full butterfly, and we've got some details that we're going to do on top of these little eye elements to make them pop. So as you're working with this, we're going to be working on some smaller lines, and especially when we get into the little antenna, I want you to kind of treat your brush like a pencil. So holding it almost perpendicular to the canvas, treat it like a pencil and use just the tip of your brush, because if you push a little bit harder, that's going to make a wider line. And it's okay if you have varying lines on your painting. Just know that with more practice, that contact will get more comfortable and your muscles will be more adept at making those skinnier. All right, so I'm just going to start kind of on the outside of the feathers or the wings. And if you are holding your breath as you do this, or if your brush is kind of shaky as you go to touch the canvas, that means you're holding your breath. So if you exhale as you touch the canvas, that's going to make it a lot easier for you. And if you need to, even just the fact that I talk while I'm painting, that makes sure that I'm breathing. If you talk to yourself, sing a song, hum, all of those engage and just make sure that you continue to take oxygen into your body. We think that it helps to hold our breath when we're nervous, but it doesn't. All right, so again, just outlining everything. Relax, get lost in the process of just painting, escaping from the everyday reality, and really just kind of hanging out in your own world. I'm a huge fan of that. So if you're noticing that as you go along, your brush strokes start getting wider and wider, but you're keeping the same pressure, take a look at your brush. Mine's actually not too bad, but if you start getting a lot of buildup on the metal and where the bristles meet, that's going to start making your brushes or your bristles spread apart. So sometimes wipe that off, maybe even clean it, and then go back and grab your paint, and that will help you make some of those smaller lines again. And then also you may find that your hand's kind of shaky as you're doing this. So put your pinky out. You can put that as like a pivot point or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. Nice. Nice. I really do enjoy painting butterflies and hummingbirds. All right, so I'm going to outline the body as well. This will give us a little more definition. And again, if your paint is wet still, I do recommend letting it fully dry to just make your process a little bit easier. Or if you're like me and you're just jumping right in, just apply that paint a little bit thicker, and then maybe every 2 or 3 brush strokes, just grab more paint. All right, so we're going to fill in some of the details on the inside. Nice little marking hanging out here, and these are pretty solid. So again, they don't have to be exactly the shape that I'm doing, just kind of come close to that placement on your canvas. And I'm basically going to go from the left side to the right side. And as you get more and more into the painting process, you'll start realizing that, especially if you start working with charcoal or colored pencil, that you actually want to go, I guess, from your non-dominant side over to your dominant side, so that way your hand's not going to smear, you're not going to put your hand somewhere in wet paint or in the charcoal, compared to me going this direction. I'm going to put my wrist in it. All right, and there's some extra fun details on the edge. There we go. I always like adding this extra thickness for the butterfly wings. All right, moving along into that bottom wing. And as you get into the final stages of painting, remember to get out of your chair and look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away. This is the normal viewing distance for most things in life, and especially artwork. And getting in the habit of looking at your artwork from the position and vantage point that your viewers are going to look at it, and adjusting what you need to, and making sure you like what it looks like from that perspective, only helps improve artwork and the creative process. Ooh, next I was actually just looking to see questions. Ooh, a bumblebee would be perfect for, I'll add that to the demo. I like the painting the little bees too. Okay, I think we're done with that side. Oh, let's put a little right there. All right, just continuing to move across. Let's get this little mouth section. We'll do the antennae last. And let's see, this guy's coming here. Right. And I'm liking the color combo a lot. We've got what we call complementing colors. All right. Ah, come on. I actually have no idea why it cut off like that. There was no reason for it. There we go. Ah, so frustrating. I didn't have a phone call come in. Everything's on Do Not Disturb. I have no idea why it kicked off, so sorry about that. Okay, so hopefully it didn't cut off too much, but again, you're still following with the black outline. And we're finishing up the bottom of the wing, and after we're done with our black, we're gonna move into, we've got a little bit of yellow, a little bit more blue, and then some white highlights, and that will bring us into the conclusion of today's painting. All right, and I was just cleaning that to get my bristles kind of back together, because we still have this thing. And don't feel like your butterfly has to be perfect, or if, you know, maybe one eye spot is a little bit different than the other. That's just actually part of nature. You know, they each have their own kind of unique spots, unique pattern, unique design. Okay, and oh, so let's get those little antennae. So I like to add a little touch of water, but never want your brush dripping wet. And then I like to kind of twirl the brush as I pull it out of the paint. And then again, treating that brush kind of like a pencil, just using that light pressure. We're going to get that little antenna in there. And he's got little nodules at the end of his. Okay, so clean that brush. We're going to go into yellow paint. We've got a few highlights right here that we're going to put on, and then our white, our final highlight. All right, so taking that, just that direct yellow and applying it pretty generously. You do want to be very careful that you don't get black into this. So be just kind of conscious and a little more controlled as you're coming up right next to that wet black paint. Or let it dry and then add your yellow. And again, I kind of like how this last couple of colors just kind of makes it pop, and these light colors are what visually jump forward. Darker colors tend to kind of push backwards. Okay, don't have any down here. Oh, we gotta make light blue, one more color. So we're gonna make fresh light blue, pull in that white, tiny amount of blue, and we are going pretty light. And again, we're just basically kind of blobbing it on in a few areas. All right, and then white, and that will bring us into the conclusion of today's painting. And we almost got through it without a technical issue. That's all right, it's never the end of the world. All right, so taking that white, and as I apply these, They're going to be kind of quick. They don't have to be a perfectly solid line. They don't have to be exactly the way that I place it, but notice how it kind of breaks up some of the black area and kind of directs our eye as we move around the canvas. So again, does not have to be exactly what I'm doing. Remember to breathe, light pressure with your brush. Because the black may still be wet, if you get a little bit in that your brush and in your white paint, just clean your brush, grab your white again. And like I said, all this is doing is just kind of giving a little bit of movement, break up some of that dark space. And definitely look at it from the distance after this. And make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all that great business stuff. Check out my online school for more in-depth classes and my featured Paint Your Pet class. As well as if you liked the knife scraping, check out my intro to knife scraping class. There's 4 things that you can paint on that course. And it's a lot of fun and majorly stress relieving. So I highly recommend that course right now. And yeah, any suggestions, leave a comment in the chat or below and I'll add it to the list. And if you want to see what we're painting in the future, just jump down to my main YouTube page and you can scroll to see the future demos. And then also check out the prior demos. A lot of the requests that are coming in are subjects that I have already painted. So check the, I guess the main list, or no, there's a playlist in there with all the daily demos. So check that list to see other stuff. So yeah, so nice painting for today. Turned out well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I think tomorrow is a hibiscus flower. So we're going to take it petal by petal and really work on our blending. So, all right. Hope you guys have a good one and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Cheers.